Good evening and welcome to the Garfield Heights City School District Special Board Meeting Work Session. Tonight is October 13th, 2025. I call the meeting to order. Could I get roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
Here.
Dr. King?
Here. All right, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second. That was moved by Ms. Thomas and second by seconded by Mrs. Daniels. Could I get roll, or is there any discussion? Could I get roll call, please?
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes. All right, so now we'll do the tentative, the review of our agenda for next week's meeting. Is there any questions or comments? I did have one thing under 19.2. The recommended action is the same as 19.1. So it needs to be
Oh, gotcha.
changed. Just that the wording needs to be updated.
So I'll make sure that change happens.
Any other questions
Let's go to
for
mine.
comments?
Madam President,
Ms. Cox?
can we get some information on 19.1?
Yes. Our band director has been working, understanding our issues with funding. He's been working to ensure that we are still able to collect some instruments, and so he wanted to do an instrument drive, and this is just permission for him to be able to do that, to gather more instruments for the school district.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam President,
Mrs. Daniels?
anybody have any information they could share about, sorry, I gotta have it. 17.2, the gifted policy. Is there any significant changes or?
It's just highlighting exactly how we're gonna be identifying students. We were limited to certain grade levels, and we're trying to expand them just a little bit more to ensure that we are identifying, not only identifying, but we also creating a process to also serve our students as well, who've been identified as gifted.
This is an amazing and a big deal and a huge milestone
Yes.
for the district
Yes.
when we're just kind of ensuring that we're serving all students, including from the gifted to our students to exceptional needs. So thank you guys
Thank you.
for putting this work into policy so that we can begin to really see it benefit our students
Yes.
in the district.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll go into Board of Education training updates. Any updates on training?
Madam President,
Ms. Thomas?
I would I like that though, Mrs.
Mrs.? Soon.
I would like to give a training update, let Heather and myself
attended the Northeast Region Fall Conference at the Galaxy Restaurant and Banquet Center in Wadsworth. We were able to see a lot of our peer school board members get recognized for their service. We also saw the new Purple Star schools, as well as a lot of schools that got renewed. We got to see the Teacher of the Year nominees, and we also got a legislative update. OSBA is celebrating 70 years of service this year, so that was really amazing. Our legal update came from people in Wagner, and then we also heard from our new CEO, Tom Hostler.
Anything else, Heather, you wanna add? I think you did a thorough.
Yeah, I think she was very thorough.
Thank you.
There was notes.
Good. All right. Is there any other, Board of Education training updates? All right, so our next, item is 3.1. Could I get a motion to move and waive the reading of 3.1 and 3.2?
So moved. Second.
Could I get discussion, Mr. Oko?
Yes. Is that time of year? A little bit early, unfortunately, for you all. Shall we begin? Or shall we wait for Dr. Reynolds?
Go ahead and get started.
Good evening, all. Instead of doing a November forecast, our state legislature has changed the way that we do our 5-year forecast. So instead of doing it in November and May, it is now going to be next year, it'll be an August forecast and a February forecast. The state of Ohio gave us a one-time extension for this year with the House Bill 96 to put the deadline to October 15th, which means that we can get some important staffing data information in on our forecast analysis, which when we flip over next year, we will not be able to do that. So without any further ado, I'll get right into it then. So if you take any slide away from tonight, this is the slide to really hone in on. And you all have packets of each slide in front of you. So abbreviated forecast. So the way that the state legislature formatted it, instead of being 5 years, so current year plus 4, it is now current year plus 3. But the way we're looking at it is 2026 is our current year. And if you notice, equal revenue, surplus, or deficit, our school district will be running a surplus budget if and only if we pass this renewal levy. I think we all need to understand how incredibly important that is, given last year we were running a negative $3.5 million deficit in this school district financially. If the levy passes, we are running a surplus this year, meaning we build on our cash balance and essentially can buy another year of planning to make sure we can continue to make those educational decisions that affect our students the most without having to make the fiscal decision first. And we'll talk about that in a little bit with Dr. Reynolds. Quickly, just a quick overview again. Projected general fund revenue, $46.2 million. Expenditures, $46.1 million. Projected gain for the year is $162,915. Assuming our renewal levy passes, assuming issue 48 passes 50+1 on November 4th. Expenditure analysis, we usually do revenue first, but revenue is so different this cycle. decided to do what we can control the most, which is expenditures. 73% of our general fund expenditures are personnel costs, which means they're salaries, benefits, staffing. We are a people-facing, institution. That is what we're here for. We educate students. 19% come from purchase services, and we'll go into a breakdown on purchase services because that is a little bit higher than, other district averages of 80% personnel, 15% purchase services, and all other expenditures, school supplies, curriculum, replacing roofs, replacing boilers, fixing leaks is 7%. Utility bills, fuel for buses, anything of that is 7% of our budget. So what have we done as a school district over the past 3 years, specifically last May, to mitigate our fiscal cliff? Remember, we didn't face the ESSER fiscal cliff. We're facing a cliff of lost general fund revenue from failure of the renewal levies, correct? So what have we done? I'll start with the first one. We took direct reduction in force measures at central office and administrative levels with 8 positions. Certified position attrition over the past year and a half has been roughly 50 positions. We are essentially structurally realigning with the reality of our school district. We don't have the same number of kids as we had 7, 8, 9 years ago. We have to restructure to make sure we're addressing those concerns. Our classified staff, bus drivers, custodians, secretaries, food service folks, we put a hiring freeze on non-essential positions. We need bus drivers, we need aides for special ed students. You'll see those postings go on when we need them as they come forth. We have aggressively implemented internal audit procedures for all contracted services with aims to lower costs. So I'm going to shout out one specific employee of our school district, Mr. James Kasuda, as an example of this. Mr. Kasuda took a lot of time to go through our TOTS lines. And he realized that they're no longer functional for our school district. So he went through, looked at the contract, worked with Mr. Whalen, worked with our department, and said, we can eliminate this and we can save $80,000 a year. And we're doing that across the board. We have looked at all of the subscriptions, all of the curriculum. We have looked at everything we can do that we would say, is this a want or is this a need for our school district? Because that's where we're at. And finally, we have adopted a deferred maintenance operational strategy, meaning instead of a yearly bus replacement cycle, we've moved to a 2 to 3 year cycle. We've deferred major maintenance projects, roof replacements, boiler replacements, classroom technology, and furniture upkeep just to conserve cash. We know we're going to run out of cash if things stay the same. So what do? We have to push some of those things forward to make sure we can afford to be a school district moving forward. Pretty simple expenditure breakout here. You can see 25 last year for both salaries on the left, benefits on the right. You can see that in 25 you're a little higher staffed, a little more cost. 26 you can see that drop in personnel costs. We simply cut positions and restructured, and you see that stair stepping took a dip down in 26 and continues to stair step forward. Again, benefits, I talk about this every time we do this, the most uncontrollable cost we have as a school district. Our consortium is great. It limits us to taking those high premium increases, but around the state is about a 17 to 20% healthcare premium increase. Our district took a 12.5 this year. So below the average, and again, just trying to maintain and not be, strangled by some of those uncontrollable costs. I did this specifically because I want you guys to see where we're spending on our purchase services and supplies breakout. A lot of these are uncontrollable costs again. Purchase services, I'll start there. Tuition and special ed costs, $2.75 million. What does that entail? When I spoke to Mr. Forte, special ed department, a lot of students that come in, so we have a declining enrollment problem, but we have an increased enrollment of special education students. So other districts, specifically Cleveland Metro, will have students come into our district with fully loaded IEPs, right? So they have all the services, they have one-to-one, they have specific tuition, different places to go. that is the bulk of our purchase services. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of options. There are maybe 2 or 3 providers for a lot of these things, and there's no real market to bring down costs as we go. Utilities and communications, 1.5 million. So those are fixed costs we see every year. And we're only going to see utilities increase as the issue with First Energy continues to unfold. There's a lot of classified information at the state level that they're not, they're hammering folks with fees to upgrade the infrastructure, but really have not been transparent in that, and we will see that come on our books moving forward. $500,000 in out-of-district transportation. That means our students one-to-one, curb-to-curb, or out-of-district, mostly special ed students. Health services, pupil services, $1.2 million. Again, we are not just a bring your child to school, learn arithmetic, learn reading. We offer services and provide services that not as many others do. And then substitutes. So we have an issue with attendance. We've known this. We've discussed this with both of our unions, and understand this. We have budgeted in about $1 million in substitute costs, and contractors is about $800,000 is what we're projecting out, using the data from the first 4 months of this school year. Finally, legal fees and negotiations, $659,000. Negotiations cost money when we're sitting and spending time doing that, and it is not cheap, but it's a necessary thing for our district. And we are a district that, as all school districts, we have yearly problems that come up. We're educating students, and that's what that is for. But again, less than 1% of our total general fund budget. Remember, $46.1 million in expenditures, $600,000 in legal fees. That's less than $1 million. That's less than 1% of our expenditures. All right, let's talk funding revenue. 54% comes directly from the state, 31% from local taxes. You saw that has increased over time, and that's because of our reevaluation cycle. The state deems us a richer community than we truly are, in a sense that our property values have increased, but the state has frozen the inputs for which they calculate our state funding on a per pupil basis. Local taxes, real estate property taxes, and public utility property taxes. State government gave another generous tax cut to public utility. Instead of being valued at the full increase every 3 and 6 years, they're only going to update at 25% of the valuation. So your home is going to be valued at whatever the increase is, but First Energy is going to be valued at 25% of whatever the increase is going to be, which leads to a loss of collections for the school district. Fair school funding plan, pretty consistent. Restricted state aid increases with economically disadvantaged calculation in House Bill 96. And then state share of local taxes is that 10 and 2.5% rollback credit. That number is going to significantly decline as we talk about some of the things that our state legislature is implementing currently. All other revenue, about $6.8 million. That is interest, fees, the payroll taxes we get from the city, anything county, any transfers that we make in or out would go into that. Our revenue story for state aid. So on the left, you'll see the analysis of the Fair School Funding Plan, which is designed to help districts stay off the funding guarantee, but also give a transparent per pupil amount and help districts that need it most, i.e. districts like Garfield Heights City Schools. As you can see here, it continued to drop and decline as our enrollment declined, all in well, but the formula only works as far as the phase-in and the inputs are concerned. The inputs are currently frozen at 2022 levels. We are almost in 2026. The federal adjusted gross income and property valuations is updated every year by the Ohio Revised Code. So what does that mean? Our community is richer and we're not paying as much in expenses in the eyes of the state. You'll see that it's a decline in state funding for us. On the right is the guaranteed state funding formula. Our district is, we will be on the 2020 base funding guarantee in fiscal year 2028. So that means our enrollment is dropping so fast, and the Fair School Funding Plan is not funding us at a level adequate enough that we will drop to what we can get no less in funding from the state than we did in fiscal year 2020. That is school year 2019-2020. That is how inadequate the Fair School Funding Plan is. That is how unconstitutional our schools are funded in the state of Ohio. Property taxes, again, top left is blue bar is what we collect. Orange is renewal money. You'll see that it's a stark drop off if we do not pass issue 48. You'll see here at the bottom left is the floor calculation. We are at the 20 mil floor. So we hit the 20 mil floor. It was a design strategy when the state of Ohio in 1976 passed House Bill 920. We put emergency levies on every 10 years. It was a sound strategy, is what the legislature gave us to work with. So we'll talk about what that means for current legislation, but we're at the 20 mil floor, meaning every 3 to 6 years we'll see inflationary growth on 20 mils since we cannot go any lower. The right slide is property values by tax year. So you'll see 2021 to 24, massive increase. And then again, we're projecting in 27, not as big of an increase, but a significant one. The 2024 reappraisal for Garfield Heights was the second highest in the state of Ohio, 55%. East Cleveland City Schools beat us by, I think, 4% total. Our property taxpayers saw that increase, and we understand the burden that our property taxpayers pay. But again, we only collect 52% of one tax dollar that comes to us when the average school district is between 60 and 70%. So let's talk line item veto 66. On your other packet, you'll see the governor vetoed a bunch of provisions in House Bill 96, specifically around how schools are funded in property tax revaluation. So state legislature overrode that veto last week. House, Senate overrode line item 66, meaning they will not allow any renewal levies on after January 1st of 2026. What does that mean for us? Because we have a renewal levy up next year that comes off the books. What does that mean? That means that we will have to run an additional tax levy to collect the same amount of money, but the ballot will not say renewal, it will say additional tax. Also, you'll see that there is no homestead and rollback credit from the state of Ohio. Any levy passed after 2013 is not applicable for that provision. So, if we had to do a full replacement of all of our emergency levies, including issue 48, it would equate out to 16.08 mils, which would only collect $8.9 million when we're currently collecting 10.2. The question is, if you want to truly only renew what property taxpayers are paying, you will have to give up that 12.5%, or else it truly is an increase in property taxes. On the right side, the $4.4 million renewal levy we have up next year, if you take our valuation and do the calculation, 6.98 mils is what our community would see on a ballot for an additional tax levy, just to collect the same amount of money. We would be giving up $542,000 in revenue if we just wanted to renew what property taxpayers are paying. If we wanted to increase that to fully collect on the full amount, it would be roughly 7.01 mils. So again, legislature's failure to understand property taxes are hurting districts who desperately need the funding, and they don't fully understand the situations we're all in. Pretty powerful slide here. Annual change in revenue. We're projecting a negative 1.37% projected annual change in revenue. We are projecting a 0.16 annual change in expenditures over the life of this forecast. That includes budgeted raises, that includes budgeted healthcare cost increases, that includes inflationary growth. That is the work that the Board of Education is doing to maintain fiscal stability in the school district. Days cash on hand, Dr. King, your favorite slide, can we make payroll? We can make payroll through this fiscal year. Fiscal year 2027 is going to be a one payroll cycle. And then obviously by 2028, we are in bigger issues than making payroll. State of Ohio will be running their, programs with us, and we'll be in a different scenario than that. Educated enrollment, again, hand in hand with our funding. As declining enrollment continues to trend, we are looking at declining funding until we hit that guarantee. But I will tell you this, our enrollment numbers from 25 to 26, significantly less than what we saw in 24 to 25. You saw almost a 275 student loss in 25 from 24. This, we're only looking at 84 student loss, that is where we need to be. We need to make sure we are within that 50 student, variance, because if we can stabilize our enrollment, we will be able to forecast accurately over the term of, our years for educating our students. And daily cost per pupil, $107 is what it costs to educate our students, to have them in the building, to get them to the bus stop and home at night. $107. 70% of that comes from state, federal business, and 30% comes from property taxpayers. Our final slide, summary and outlook. You will see that we have never been a rich district. We have done the most of what we can do. The last time we put new money on the ballot was 2012, and we've been able to sustain since then. Unfortunately, we have a revenue problem, and without the revenue, we are going to be in a significantly different position than we would be if we had a stabilized revenue stream. You can't stop expenditures from growing over time, right? Inflation's gonna be there. Inflation's the silent killer. And you're a people business, and it is extremely difficult to attract talent when you don't offer competitive salaries and benefits. And that is part of the issue that we have here. So with that, I will take any questions you have. I kind of sped through that.
The slide with revenue,
Which one?
revenue versus expenditures. One more.
Oh,
It's,
this one.
right there.
There you go.
Can you reiterate what
Yeah.
you were saying on that?
So our historical annual revenue changes have been less than 1%, since we've all been here, sitting at the board. We're looking at negative revenue growth over the life of this forecast. You can see that even we were beating inflation operating normally at 2.66 historical annual expenditure change. We are essentially not increasing expenditures year over year in what we're doing and projecting. And that comes from actual projected data, right? Like I use everything we have in our budgeting softwares to make sure that we have all the payrolls and everything for this specific presentation. We are sustaining what we can sustain, and we're not spending on lavish and extraordinary items. We've cut costs to the point where our expenditures are not growing almost at all over the life of the forecast. Is that good?
That's it.
Madam President.
Mrs. Daniels, may I ask, why are we losing so much revenue? Like, what is the reason for the decline in our revenue over the years?
So the state of Ohio is just functionally cutting everything, and I mean that truly. So over the life of school funding, obviously DeRolf versus Ohio deemed school funding unconstitutional, but some of the things they've done, House Bill 96 eliminated income tax for a large swath of Ohioans. They collapsed brackets, and it was a $2 billion decision. They eliminated the commercial activity tax in the last decade, which was tax coming right to school districts. That way, they're taxing, the steel mill makes a rolled steel, they're taxing on the product, commercial activity. They eliminated the tangible personal property, so if I sell a couch in my house, I have to pay tax on it, right? They essentially took the lottery money and subsidized school funding. So say the school budget from the state was $100 million, and the lottery money is going to be $10 million. Instead of giving us $110 million, they said, we're going to give you $90 million and give you $10 million in lottery funds. So you didn't see any increase in lottery money. Marijuana sales are not going to school. They've cut almost every tax they can, and while they're doing that, they're abating properties. So class 2, meaning our industrial, our commercial businesses, get tax breaks. they gave a tax break to public utility, so they're not paying as much over the life of their reevaluation. So they're shouldering the burden of cost on local taxpayers. And when you have a large value, like reevaluation cycle, and folks start paying more because they took massive hikes on their property valuations, they're saying, I don't want to pay anymore. And rightfully so. The state has cut darn near everything. And mind you, they also cut the fair school funding formula. We're losing 4% of our funding over 2 years on it because they don't update the inputs. And the reason they do that is they say they don't have the money because they cut the income tax. So if you want to see applicable states to this, look at Kansas. Kansas is going through a unmitigated disaster with their funding for local governments and schools because they eliminated darn near everything you can fund anything with. And that's essentially the roadmap for where Ohio is trying to get to. That answers your question.
So pretty much just taking measures to defund public education.
Yeah. And we didn't even get into the voucher program, the complete $1 billion subsidization program of the voucher in private schools. They are doing everything in their power to make it a direct public attack on public education.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Oko?
Madam President,
Mrs. Daniels?
Mr. Oko, can you give us more information about the 20 mil floor and
Yeah.
where we're at with all that?
Yes. So actually, do you want me to go right into the legislative update? Because that's going to be right
Oh,
into
okay.
that. Yeah. Do we want to take a vote on the assumption, the forecast real quick? And I'll get right into that.
So I believe that was motion by Ms. Thomas, is that correct? Ms. Daniels and second by Ms. Thomas?
Oh, Lord.
Madam President?
Oh, I did have that right. Yes.
I did have one more question. I don't know if it goes into the legislative thing,
Yeah.
but when we were talking about our expenditures and the
Yes.
percentages,
Yes.
and this may be a question for Dr. Reynolds, what are we seeing, like, have we always spent this much on substitutes? Is it because there's an increased need? I know that the rates have increased for the most part, and is there a plan for us to attempt to reduce those costs in any way? Like, are we always this high with these costs?
So I would say historically, we've not been this high. It's been the last couple of years that we've seen a significant increase. Again, we raised rates because we were the lowest paying substitute rates. So we raised them to general, peer average, but I would say the attendance is significant. It really is. When folks call out, truly it is, you're paying their salary on their sick day, and then you're paying for either a sub or you're paying for spot subbing through the contract. So you're double paying and sometimes even triple paying the cost to cover one person's absence in the building. But I can let Dr. Reynolds cover that while I get
And this is something that we've noticed a few years ago. We've been working with HR to really kind of address those things as well. But we're also considering doing some things with providing incentives for teachers who are showing up on a regular basis. Not even just teachers, but just employees who are showing up on a regular basis. So it is an issue that we've identified for the last couple of years. We actually started looking at the numbers. And luckily we have a human resources department who will go and check and see what's happening and how we can support staff members who are out. However, those numbers are elevated. They are elevated right now.
And do those substitute costs include substitutes and spot subbing, or just outside vendors?
That's everyone. That's spot subs and our substitutes as well. We currently use
OSTS,
OSTS.
Ohio Substitute Teaching Services.
And we started using them because the rates were a little bit lower with them. Still, we need to do some things on our end of things to ensure that our folks are showing up to school on a regular basis, showing to work on a regular basis. So we've had conversations with them to see what we can do, and we are looking at ways to incentivize doing what we're supposed to do.
So that we can reduce that.
So we'll reduce that number, yes.
Thank you.
All right, so that was moved by Mrs. Daniels and second by Ms. Morrison. Could I get roll call, please?
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Ms. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Dr. King.
Yes.
All right, I'll keep this as brief as I can for y'all, but over the past 2 weeks, we have seen an unprecedented amount of legislation action from our state house. Mind you, the federal government is busy being on shut down, but they still have the ability to do more damage and harm to public education. But we're going to focus more on the state government. So Governor DeWine, I can't believe I'm going to say this to everybody, but he might be the most friendly governor that we will have in quite some time when it comes to funding public schools. So historic number of vetoes in this past budget, as you can see here. We're not going to go through all of them, but number 66 is school district property tax restrictions, elimination of fixed sum levies. That is the provision where they eliminate our ability to renew our current emergency levies and put an emergency levy on the ballot as of 1/1/26. If our community passes issue 48, it will be grandfathered in. They will see the 12.5% discount on their property tax, but anything moving forward, we cannot have fixed sum levies, so no emergency levies. They'll be continuing operating or additional new tax levies. All right, so what else does it do? It takes away your ability as a Board of Education to locally control the way you go and raise funds. It takes away your ability to say we are in a true emergency situation, we need these funds. Garfield Heights isn't an emergency situation. We need these funds to literally be a school district. So it is eliminating a slew of emergency substitution replacement levies, and we will see the consequence of that next year, regardless of if we pass issue 48 or not. So again, I'll quickly say, everyone is losing the 12.5% rollback credit. Everyone, any district that has an emergency levy, and that is by design. The state of Ohio is trying to cut as much from their budget as possible, and this is one way to do it. Vetoed item 63, which is 40% limit on cash balance carryover. The item 65 was levies in the 20 mil 4 calculation. This was vetoed, but House Bill 129 that just passed in the House yesterday, moving over to Senate tomorrow, is a recalculation of the 20 mil 4, and we'll get there in just a minute. County Budget Commission vetoed item 55. This one is House Bill 335 now. Passed the House, moving over to the Senate. This one takes away your ability as a board to levy the money that you are collecting in your taxes. The county can say, you don't need this amount of money, we're taking it. And you don't have a say.
Do the taxpayers have a
They
say?
do not have a say. Piggyback exemption allows county commissioners to vote without Board of Education input to put another 10 and 2% rollback credit on top of what property taxpayers are already getting, but there is no reimbursement to the school district. Again, no input from the local Board of Education. Authority and procedure, this does not apply to us because we are a executive county, us in Summit County. Chris Renee's elected and he appoints, so it's a little bit different, but there is no local control on your ability to authorize appropriations and certify resources. The county budget will take what they want to take. If they get too many complaints and people are too highly taxed, they will say, you have $6 million, you don't need this, and they'll take it away in inside millage. Again, legally, a lot of it's up in the air because a lot of these things are written in the Ohio Revised Code. So what do? We adopt a multi-year capital plan to certify how we're spending our money. You'll see that in November. Board adopted cash balance policy, we're working on that. And board adopted forecast, that's what you just adopted tonight. Those are the things that if and when we, meaning myself and Dr. Reynolds, are called before the County Budget Commission in Cuyahoga County and have to explain to them how we need every dollar to fully fund and meet the expectational needs of our academic program. This is the evidence that we will need to present to them. Because if we don't have it, they will say, you know, you're projecting a $3 million, you know, expenditure here, but you really don't, you're not gonna do that. But if we have a plan that says, you know, we have all these roofs, we got $2 million in roof replacements that need to happen, and we can show that this is the plan we have, it's more defensible in front of the county budget commission. Again, changes to forecast. We talked about that at the beginning of this. The problem with doing in August and February is that we don't have payroll information in August for the new school year. So our forecast is going to be wildly off because our teachers are still getting paid from last year, and that's the largest bulk of our forecast expenditure. So fiscal timeline, and you have this all in your packet. I'm not going to go through it there, but it changes from November to August, and from August and from May to February. So directly following the tax budget you'll approve at the organizational meeting. I'll skip past that. Cybersecurity. State mandated a strict cybersecurity requirement and deadline. I will tell you right now, Mr. Whalen has done a fantastic job at getting us to that point, and we're already past some of the requirements we have. We've been operating like this before the budget took place. Taxpayer trilogy, House Bill 420, 421, 422, all introduced in the House. They are effectively looking to defund schools completely. 420, eliminating continuing levies. That means that you would have to put a levy on for a certain number of years that you cannot renew. House Bill 421, allow voters to place measures on ballot to reduce inside millage. So, we get 4.6 mils from inside millage. That is Ohio Revised Code through the county. Essentially, what they're saying is they're going to enact new legislation to allow voters to put ballot initiatives on to lower that inside millage, even though the county and the Ohio Revised Code mandate what it is. Finally, House Bill 422, this would essentially eliminate any new money coming into any school district in Ohio. Raise voter approval threshold from levies above 1 mil. So from 1 to 2 mils, it's 60%. 66% for over 2 mils. Right now it's 50 plus 1, like every normal election is. The last time we approved a levy, it was 51-49. So if we had that same result with this going in, we would be, essentially, that point would be moot for us. Again, pending in House Ways and Means, and again, with our supermajority, it's gaining significant traction. House Bill 186, 20 mil floor cap. Dave Thomas, you're going to hear a lot about him. So there's a substitute version that made it through the House. It's at the Senate. Essentially what it does is 20 mil floor. It will cap inflationary growth to a certain percentage. Right now it's at 3%. What the substitute bill does is the original bill had a credit for school districts in the funding formula. So if we reeval at 10% and we lost 7%, the state would take in a credit for 7%. The substitute bill that made it through the House eliminated that and retroactively applied it to tax year 2024. So it would undercut our collections currently. We'd see that immediate effect. We'd pay back the county essentially for overages. It's also a legal concern. They certify rates. They certify it, send it down to the Ohio Department of Taxation, and it's a legitimate thing. Like it's possible we'd be violating contracts, 412 certificates. Everything that we've certified would be up in the air because we're losing a large percentage of funding right then and there. And that made it through the House. House Bill 129. It says pending through the House. It actually was voted through the House yesterday morning. Limited inside millage shifting. And renamed emergency levies as fixed sum levies was introduced version, substitute version. They removed all of that introduced language, and now what they're saying is they're going to take all of our emergency levies and count that into the floor calculation. So we're at the 20 mil floor, and what they're saying is the additional 30 mils that we levy on emergency terms would be calculated into the 20 mil floor, meaning we don't get the inflationary growth. And all of our levies would now be subjected to the House Bill 920 again. So we're in the same situation we were in 2002. Take us back 23 years. Again, it says pending House Ways and Means. This was voted out, and it is pending committee assignment in the Senate. We're hoping for Senate Ways and Means with Senator Lewis Blessing, who is, believe it or not, a friend of public education. if it goes to local government, that would be unfortunate for all involved. Again, in your packet, if you wanted to see, look at this, here's how it's calculated out. What's included against the 2004, what's not. Current expense is emergency levies are not. Permanent improvement levies are not subjected to House Bill 920 and to, I'm sorry, it is, but not to the 20 mil floor. And then you see here with the House Bill 129 change, everything would kind of flip, except for our permanent improvement levies. House Bill 335. This is the most direct attack on U5 that we've seen in quite some time. And I'm shocked that OSBA has not been full court press on this. So again, County Budget Commission, this one is pending in House Ways and Means, gives the Budget Commission of Cuyahoga County, or any county, the ability to eliminate inside millage for tax year 2026, meaning January 1st of 2026, without the school board's approval or, advice. They're not even gonna ask you if you need this, they're just gonna take it. So again, it's stripping home rule, it's stripping local authority and decision-making from school boards. And that is a slippery slope. Once they do that, they're moving towards consolidation. That is what their end goal is. Eliminate home rule and move towards consolidation. County Budget Commission is another one. They are just going at county budget commissions. This one is not gaining as much traction, but it's possible it could. This one would give the County Budget Commission the authority to reduce any millage on any voter-approved levy without the consideration or approval of a school board. So they can say, if we pass issue 48, they can say, you know what, you don't need all of that money, we're gonna lower the millage for it immediately, without asking the school district or the Board of Education for approval. And then finally, a few good ones. A loose blessing, Herschel Craig, bipartisan. Tax credit for certain homeowners and renters. This one has not gone anywhere, if you believe it or not. A Democrat is on the bill writing committee for this one, so it has not gone anywhere. But it's a circuit breaker approach that our school district actually helped model for the legislature in this case and scenario, to offer a circuit breaker so as if property taxes increase by a certain percentage, those who make under a certain income or on fixed income would not be subjected to that massive increase. Instead, it would break and you would get a refundable income credit or a direct rebate. They set the household income does not exceed $60,000 and would offer COLAs as they go. It was referred to the Finance Committee on January 29th of 2025. Essentially, it is dead on arrival. And I think is that it? That's it for us. So you guys have a slew of that. Right now, they are in committee tomorrow, both sessions, working on all of this. But again, the things that make sense, they're not passing. The things that they don't understand, they are passing so fast that we can't even get down there to advocate for our school district. But that is the legislative update to go with the forecast and to kind of understand what's happening with our funding. So I'll take any questions. If not, I will stop talking.
Any questions for Mr. Oko?
Madam President,
Mrs. Daniels?
although all of this was alarming, out of what you shared with us today, what is the thing that we should be most paying attention to? Like, what is the most detrimental to our school district?
It's a great question, and I'll tell you, honestly, for the school district, it is House Bill 333. Folks, we gotta understand that the way that House Bill 920 worked and the way the legislature kind of messed with property tax in the 70s was gonna come back to bite us one way or another. So we have to understand that, that's a problem that they were gonna have to fix. Rob Peter to pay Paul, now the bill's coming due. 335, again, a direct attack on the school board. Stripping away home rule, local authority, your ability to levy the funds that you have for this school district giving that to a power of 3 who are mostly elected in 86 counties, but giving that to Chris Ronayne and the appointed officials of the county who don't know our school district. They don't know our kids. They don't know the challenges we face. And they can essentially take whatever they want and not give it back. And there is no consideration or approval from you guys. And that is a slippery slope of home rule. And that is the most pressing issue right now, is them stripping power away from you 5 at this table.
Which in turn strips power away from the community, because
Correct.
we are the voice and we're the advocates for our neighbors and community members. So it just doesn't strip power away from us 5. It actually eliminates the voice of the Garfield Heights community as a whole, correct?
Yes. I mean, remember, all the levies that are currently being taxed to our community were voter approved, right? And for a budget commission to come in and say, we don't think you're spending your money correctly. We don't care about your forecast. We don't care about your capital plan. We think you're overtaxing your community. Now, they will do that to us, but will they do it to the city of Garfield Heights? No. That's the difference. This is only for school districts. That's why 335 is so detrimental. We can figure out the inside millage, the 20 mil floor calculation. That's no biggie. Dr. Reynolds and I, with your help, have been able to stabilize this school district over the 3 years with ever-changing ebb and flow of things. But for the community and the board to lose their ability to do their jobs and to represent the communities and schools, that is a serious threat.
Madam President,
Ms. Cox?
so that means that the community won't have a voice then?
Correct. Yeah, essentially, when they strip power, it goes into the elected officials, or in this case, for our county, it goes into the appointed officials. So the only person who has a say is the executive director of the county, which would be Chris Ronayne, by way of who he's appointing to the commission. When you do that, they make the decisions for you, and they dictate whether you need this money or not. My forecast, Dr. Reynolds' academic plan, won't mean a thing to them.
Any other questions? Yes, Ms.
House Bill 422, where they're raising the voter approval threshold.
Yes.
How is that even legal? That means your vote is no longer one.
Well, it's
it
there's a lot of
diminishes-
legality challenges, but
Yeah.
the issue is they want to up the threshold so high where they know school districts couldn't levy new taxes. That's the thing. So they can do it, and they almost did it in the budget bill, but they didn't. I
You
know.
can't just win. You have to win.
You have to win like a large majority.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2/3 majority, which is unbelievable. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Oko?
I talk so much. Had a great
Thank you,
time.
Mr. Oko, for all of that information. It's a lot to digest, but thank you very much for your interpretation of what's going on downstate.
My pleasure.
All right, so I will like to ask for a motion to enter into executive session at 6:55 to prepare for conducting or reviewing collective bargaining strategy by Division G4 of Section 121.22 of the revised code, and for conferences with the public body's attorney concerning pending or imminent court action by Division G3 of Section 121.22 of the revised code. Court action is pending if a suit is been commenced. Court action is imminent if it is on the point of happening or impending.
So moved.
Second.
That was moved by Ms. Cox and seconded by Mrs. Daniels. Could I get roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Cox,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Dr. King.
Yes. We will enter into executive session and we will not take any action when we leave executive section.